Hello and welcome to Math on the Go. In this video, we are going to discuss the product rule. So the product rule looks like this. We have f times g. And we want to take the derivative of f and g. So the derivative would look like this. Okay, that doesn't really clarify it. So if we break this down even further, what that looks like is we take the derivative of the first, multiply it by the second, then we add the first and multiply it by the second derivative. So just remember that derivative of the first times the second plus the first times derivative of the second. All right, so let's go on and start with our very first example. Let's say we have f of x equals x to the fourth times x to the 8 plus 2. Okay, so we have our first and we have our second. So let's take our derivative. F prime of x equals, so we want to take the derivative of the first. If you didn't catch the power rule, you're going to need that for this video, so I recommend going back and watching that video if you haven't watched that yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the power rule to take the derivative of the first, which is our x to the fourth. So we end up with 4x to the third. And then we just keep the second, which is x to the 8 plus 2, the same. X to the 8 plus 2. Now we're going to add, and we keep the first the same, so we have just x to the fourth, times the derivative of the second. So the derivative of the second would be 8x to the seventh plus a constant is 0, so that's just going to be 8x to the seventh. So that right there is basically your derivative. Now what we can do here is we can go a little bit further just to clean things up, tidy it up, make it look nice and pretty, but really this is your derivative and it is fine just like that most of the time. Your teachers might want you to simplify it or clean it up or whatever, so I will just quickly go through that here. So let's move down. We're going to distribute our 4x to the third into our x to the 8 plus 2. So what we get here is we get 4x to the 11. And now we're going to get plus 8x to the third. Okay, now we got this plus sign here. Then we're going to just multiply our x to the fourth times 8x to the 7, which gives us 8x to the 11. 8x to the 11. And then this we can simplify even further, clean it up, because we have 8x to the 11 and 4x to the 11, which gives us 12x to the 11 plus 8x to the third. And that is our final derivative. Let's move on to another derivative example. Let's say we have f of x equals x cubed plus 4 times x squared plus 3. So again, we're going to derivative of the first times the second plus derivative of the second times the first. So our derivative, f prime of x, equals derivative of the first. So we have x cubed plus 4. So x cubed becomes 3x squared. Our plus 4 becomes 0 because 4 is a constant, so we just have 3x squared times the second, x squared plus 3. Now we do plus our first, x cubed plus 4, times the derivative of the second. So our second is x squared plus 3. So x squared becomes 2x. Our plus 3 becomes 0 because, again, a constant is 0. So that is our derivative. Now, again, this can be left just like that if you want, but like I said before, teachers or tests or your online math homework might request that you simplify it, so let's just simplify this. So we're going to distribute our 3x squared into our x squared plus 3, so we end up with 3x to the 4 plus 9x squared, and this plus sign, distribute our 2x into there, so we have 2x to the 4 plus 8x. All right, now we have 3x to the 4 and 2x to the 4, so that becomes 5x to the 4th power. Then we just have our plus 9x squared, and we have our plus 8x. And that is our derivative of this product rule. So the product rule is not too difficult. Like I said, if you're a little lost, maybe you should go back and look at the power rule, which there's a link in the description, and I'd post it in a card up in the top corner there that popped up earlier. So let's try another example. Let's say we have f of x equals x to the 6th times 4x squared plus 2x minus 14. All right, so let's do our product rule. Our first, our second. So f prime of x equals derivative of our first, which is x to the 6th, becomes 6x to the 5th times the second, which is 4x squared plus 2x minus 14 plus our first, x to the 6th, times our derivative of the second. So that becomes 8x plus 2. And negative 14 is a constant, so that's 0. So it's just 8x plus 2. Now what we do here, again, that can be your derivative, but let's clean it up. So let's distribute. We end up with 24x to the 7 plus 12x to the 6th minus 84x to the 5th plus, now we distribute our 8x, or our x to the 6th into 8x plus 2. So we end up with 8x to the 7 plus 2x to the 6th. And now we can just go through and fix it. We have no more, oh, wait, no, we have 32x to the 7, 32x to the 7. And just to clean things up, just so I don't get confused when looking at it, now we also have 12x to the 6 and 2x to the 6, which gives us 14x to the 6th. and then we're just left with minus 84x to the fifth. And that is our final answer for this derivative. Now I have one more example to show you. This is going to be a little more complicated. It's got the fourth square root. So let's go ahead and get into that example. So we have f of x equals fourth square root x to the third, and that is going to be multiplied by 3x plus x to the fifth. Again, this is our first, this is our second. So before going into taking the derivative, let's turn this part right here into a fraction because it makes doing derivatives a whole lot easier. So f of x equals x to the 3/4 times 3x plus x to the fifth. So now that's our first, and that is our second. So now we can work on the derivative. F prime of x equals 3/4 x to the negative 1/4 times 3x plus x to the fifth plus x to the 3/4 times the derivative of the second, which will be 3 plus 5x to the fourth. And that is our derivative, but we do have this exponent, which is negative, so we want to make that a positive by moving it from the numerator to the denominator, and then we'll just clean things up using algebra. I mean, after the derivative, all your other work after that is just pure algebra, so you really have to be strong on your algebra when doing derivatives. So let's fix this up. We have 3/4x to the 1/4 times 3x plus x to the fifth. We'll leave this the same, x to the 3/4 times 3 plus 5x to the fourth. All right. Let's just continue cleaning this up. Let's multiply this by this to get that nice and clean. So we end up with 9x plus 3x to the fifth over 4x to the 1/4 plus, and then we'll distribute this. So we end up with 3x to the 3/4 plus 5x. Well, let's see. We have 3/4 plus 4, which that equals 3/4 plus 16 over 4, which that equals 19 over 4. 19 over 4. Now, just for reference, this math I did on the right, I mean, you can just pop it into a calculator and get your answer, but I'm doing all this without a calculator, so I like to, instead of just trying to do it in my head, I do it off to the side. This is how I've always done my math homework and on my tests and quizzes. It's what works for me. Instead of always having to reach for a calculator, I try and work my math out by hand without the help of a calculator. So I will be doing that on the sides of my math videos, and you'll see it, and that's fine. So let's clean this up a little bit more. Let's get a denominator across all of this the same. So we have 9x plus 3x to the fifth over 4x to the 1/4 plus 3x to the 3/4 times 4x to the 1/4 over 4x to the 1/4 plus 5x to the 19 over 4 times 4x to the 1/4 over 4x to the 1/4. All right, this is going to get nasty here for a brief minute. So let's just scroll down a little bit here. Let's make a little room for us. This first part's going to stay the same. 4x to the 1/4 plus, okay, let's just work this out. 3/4 plus 1/4 equals 4 over 4, which equals 1. So that's just going to become 12x. 12x over 4x to the 1/4. Plus, okay, we have 19/4 plus 1/4 gives us 20/4, which gives us x to the 5, right? Yeah, x to the 5th. So 20x to the 5th. 20x to the 5th over 4x to the 1/4. All right, continue on with cleaning it up. Let's just put all the numerator together over one denominator. So we have 9x plus 3x to the 5th plus 12x plus 20x to the 5th. All of that is over 4x to the 1/4. Now we just clean up that numerator and then we are done. So I like to put the numerator, or I like to put the exponent that is highest order to the front. So we have 3x to the 5th and 20x to the 5th, which gives us 23x to the 5th. And then we have plus 12x plus 9x, which gives us 21x. Over 4x to the 1/4. And that right there is the derivative of this. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the product rule and you find it useful. Any comments, please put them down below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Make sure you click on that little bell button so you get notified when I post new videos, which I'm trying to put them out weekly, so keep up with that. There's a link in the description to donate money for me to buy a coffee. I don't have a Patreon set up yet, so if you do want to donate to me, that link in the description is how you would go about doing that. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.